This session is going to be a little different in the sense that we will try and trace personal journeys of very, very successful people. So you may not get great insights and practices that you got in the other sessions, but you'll get a glimpse of what makes an entrepreneur. So I'll start with my own experience and tell you that I've had the good fortune of working with many entrepreneurs, some of them extremely successful. And I firmly believe that entrepreneurship is not a journey of the mind. It's actually a journey of emotions. And I firmly believe that the best entrepreneurs are those who faced great rejection in their life, either from their family or their friends or from their colleges or from the ecosystem. I know two on whose board I have served who were totally rejected. One was, one's father used to run a very small, cloth business, and there were four sons he had. And this particular person was the black sheep of the family. They thought he'll amount to nothing. And he was India's largest retailer. The other person I served on the board of was similar story, youngest of three brothers, went off in a huff to Canada to start his own business, failed miserably, became bankrupt, came back to India, and started a small bottling operation, and he's today the world's largest single bottler. And both of them, when I talk, they're both friends, and when I talk to them, I sense this need to prove their worth to the world at large. So it is a great emotion. And entrepreneurship, I think, gets fueled by this emotion of wanting to prove something to someone. And most often, it is to somebody very close to them. The other big emotion that entrepreneurship also fuels on, I think, is inspiration, admiration, something to look forward to do. And somebody told the story of people who've worked in companies before, who are domain experts, who understand it, but they realize that they are not going to fulfill all their dreams within their jobs. So they go out, become co-founders, and do something which is way bigger than what they would have done in their professional journey, because they are inspired by a vision. They are inspired by their potential. And I think these are the two emotions. One is extreme rejection, and the other is admiration, which I believe fuels entrepreneurship. They are the ones, and it is always an emotional journey. You ask an entrepreneur, you'll always see the passion that comes out, and the underlying that passion is, I think, something like what I have alluded to. But that's not enough. I think during this journey, entrepreneurs learn a lot of things. They learn through their family. They learn through their education. They learn through their degrees. And they learn through their culture. They learn through their religion. These are big pillars in our society. Education is a huge pillar. Family and friends is a huge pillar. And so is religion. It's a huge pillar. And people learn through them, and then they become entrepreneurs, and they become entrepreneurs with a set of beliefs and value systems and what to do and what not to do with some assumptions. So I'll stop here, and I've got three wonderful stories that you should all hear about from three very, very eminent people. I'd let them tell their story of their entrepreneurial journey. What were their beliefs? What were their assumptions? What were their biases? What were their prejudices? What were their successes? What were their failures? Where did they think they needed to cover their weaknesses? So I'll start with Rizwan. Rizwan, please let them hear what your entrepreneurial journey was.
Sure. So first of all, thank you very much to Vikram and the team here for an outstanding conference. And as we were preparing for this, this is a slightly different type of a theme. You know, I'm part of many talks on entrepreneurship, which are slightly more sort of traditional. This is slightly non-traditional. So, you know, for me, fortunately for me, I didn't have childhood trauma, you know, so that was not the driving factor. But for me, the driving factor of being an entrepreneur has just been the desire to do something different, you know, to kind of, I get bored if I have to do things which a lot of people do, you know, and there is this innate desire to say, okay, can I do something different? And that has been sort of the guiding light for many things I've done. And there are at least, if you track my sort of, you know, career journey, there are, I think, 4 or 5 key points of inflection which I'll just kind of point out, and then what I'm trying to say will make more sense. So I graduated from IIT Bombay. I actually did well. I got a scholarship to go to MIT. And in those days, unlike today, you know, when you got a scholarship, you went to MIT, it was a very easy path to then stay back in the US and, you know, pursue a job. And then, you know, that was pretty much everybody around me was doing. I showed up at MIT and I said, "अरे ये सब तो ठीक है, मगर मतलब और कुछ करते हैं." Then I finished my graduation. I came back to India. I came back to India and I was looking for an engineering job. I actually got 2, 3 good offers. But then I got into this company called McKinsey and Company, which now everybody here knows what McKinsey is. In those days, I'd never heard of McKinsey when I got back to India. And it seemed like a slightly odd choice, so I said, let me try it out. The fact that, you know, the salary levels were like 4x of what the engineering jobs were doing made my choice a little easier. I did that for 5 years, and I was actually doing quite well as a consultant. And then, you know, the bug came to me. I said, you know, see, now everybody is doing this career thing in McKinsey, and there's a part to becoming a partner and a senior partner. How about becoming an entrepreneur? So I said, I'll leave McKinsey, let me try this. So I was probably the first guy in McKinsey in 1999 to today's commonplace. I think I'm sure many of the folks here, including the IvyCap portfolio, will be some McKinsey guys who are leaving. But I was the first guy in McKinsey to leave to just see, I had a bug, you know. I said, let me try something else. So we started this BPO company, ran it for 4 years. Then lots of BPO companies were there. So then I said, okay, you know what, this is becoming commonplace now. Let's do something different. Fortunately, we started this company called CitiusTech in 2005, which was very different from many of the other traditional tech services companies, which were sort of more broad-based. We will do anything and everything. We said we'll take one domain. Fortunately for us, we selected healthcare as a domain. And CitiusTech today has become India's largest, you know, sort of healthcare services company. I ran it for 16 years, from 2005 to 2021. And honestly, the company is doing amazingly well. So I could have run it for another 10 years. But after running it for 16 years, I said, now this is very predictable. Quarter on quarter, X% growth, then another board meeting, then another growth, another board meeting. I said, I want to do something different. So then, end of 2021, I stepped down, and I now run a foundation. And my foundation does digital health work in India, and I spend 100% of my time in the foundation. And I do it with the same level of attention, rigor, passion, whatever that I've done whether I was a consultant or as an entrepreneur. It's been 18 months. It's been great. I don't know how it will go because most of the projects we do are for Government of India. And maybe 5 years from today, I'll probably be brighter whether it was a good idea or not. But I just don't know. But it's that innate desire to sort of follow the unbeaten path that has been sort of the driving factor in many things I've done in life. Yeah. Back to you. Yeah.
Thank you. Amit, you are an entrepreneur of repute. Tell us your story.
Well, thank you so much for having me. So I was born in UP, comes from a middle class. My father was a state civil servant. And after that, so education was very important for our family, like every other middle class family. And I was good in studies, so I cleared IIT JEE. So I went to IIT Kanpur, and after doing the engineering, worked for a couple of years as a programmer in Cognizant, but realized that I want more from life. So tried for MBA, then went to IIM Ahmedabad for management. And after that, consulting basically came my way. So in consulting, people basically fall into 2 categories. One who join it basically for the prestige of it and do it for a couple of years, and another who basically love it. I somehow ended up in the second category. I loved it. I did it for a decade. So despite all the traveling from Monday to Friday, I loved consulting. And then I was doing strategy in ANZ Bank. And once you have done a high pressure job like consulting, you basically feel that when you shift to industry, you feel this is too easy because you can understand a bank strategy in a couple of weeks, and then what do you do? And I started feeling that as time will pass, I will just basically change jobs and chase higher salary. And I was already in my mid 30s. So it was not from age wise, it was not a great time because once you're in your mid 30s, you end up having mortgage, you end up having car EMIs. We were expecting our second kid. So my wife wanted to take a break. So from timing perspective, it was a very bad time to start something of my own. But I felt that if I don't take a plunge now, then perhaps I will never be, and perhaps there will never be a good time to ever drop your job. So I did that with two of my friends, Akhil and Saurabh, and we started NoBroker. Uh, and within few months, all my air about being an IIM guy went away because we were rejected fully multiple times by multiple investors. I think if not more, at least 15 to 20 investors. And the reason was very simple that NoBroker, for people who don't know, we basically connect owners with the tenants and buyers directly with each other in property without any broker in between. This has never been done anywhere in the world. Even today, we are not only India's largest C2C real estate platform, we are also world's largest non-brokerage platform. So every investor question was, if this is such a good idea, then why hasn't somebody in China or US done it? And we still don't have answer why anybody else hasn't done it. And the second bigger problem was, why will customers pay in advance for a service? Because world over in real estate, you pay to the broker once you find a house or once you sell a house. While us being a real estate online platform, we can't basically collect forcibly money post transaction. That has a leakage problem. So we said we'll build trust and then we'll collect money upfront. So these are too many assumptions which nobody has seen before. But we still jumped in with an irrational optimism that things will work out. And the initial journey was tough. Our office was attacked by brokers because they didn't love us much. And so we had to overnight vacate the office, move to other location. Funding was extremely difficult because housing.com was doing great, so nobody was funding us. Then housing.com was not doing great, so nobody was funding the sector. And there were already large players there in this sector. So the sector is pretty tough. It's not easy to make money in this sector. It requires years of frugal existence, which we did. And I think compounding basically helped us. So today, after 8-9 years, we are decently large. We have 2.5 crore cumulative customers. And from core real estate, we ventured into packers and movers, painting, cleaning, and so on and so forth.
Thank you, Amit. Professor Rao, you are not an entrepreneur in the strict sense of the word, but you've seen a lot of entrepreneurs and you've taught a lot of entrepreneurs, and you continue to do so. What do you think is the shaping role that learning and education and influence of people around you plays in an entrepreneur's journey?
Thank you. Thank you very much. In fact, I had prepared a speech. I thought when you asked me about my entrepreneurship journey, I thought I will say that for the first time somebody recognized me as an entrepreneur. I'm actually an entrepreneur. I have 2 deep technology startups. At IIT Bombay, where I spent 18 years, we started a company, NanoSniff. And today, many airports in India have an explosive detector, NanoSniffer, that's actually developed in my company, NanoSniff. So, that company is doing very well now. Now we are winning almost all the government bids. Now eventually every airport in the country will have NanoSniffer. That is a completely disruptive technology for explosive detection. We use a micro-sensor based technology. You can search NanoSniffer, you will actually find about it. And I have started my second company in 2018, that is Soil Sense, that is a agricultural sensors for Indian farmers. We have the world's smallest and the most affordable NPK sensor. We call it the soil glucometer. Now we are in multiple states. These two companies are run by my PhD students who are co-founders of this company. So both of them are deep technology startups. Starting from scratch, we hold now US patent, European patent, as well as Indian patents. They are there now in many airports, and they are there on the field with the farmers. I think I am an entrepreneur. So now I think, so yeah. But the reason why I wanted to mention that was because, at IIT Bombay, after spending 18 years, I saw the struggles of a deep technology entrepreneur. It took me full 10 years from proof of concept to developing a product that now a Delhi airport is using our technology. So for a Delhi airport kind of a place to use that, the journey was very tedious. The journey was very difficult. You don't even have in this country any manufacturing facilities for fabricating these devices. We had to go to Ministry of Electronics, ask them for funding. They gave us funding, but they said that we will not give funding to a company, but we will give funding to IIT. So then I wore my IIT hat, and then got that money, created a facility. Then IIT Bombay would say, but how can you create a facility within IIT which will be used by a company? So there were all kinds of issues, but finally we created a prototype manufacturing facility. We are using that right now to manufacture all these systems. So all of that happened, but when I moved to IIT Delhi, I actually moved out of frustration. The reason I moved out of frustration is, as professors, we raise a lot of money from government. But using that money for a startup, there is a direct conflict of interest. The moment you take government money and you want to develop a product and then incubate a company and all of that, there is a no-no. I mean, no director would sign a letter saying that this money, though government is okay with that, but the local institute will say, but how can you transfer this money to this company? There has to be a tender, right? We are a government of India institute, there has to be a tender. And we tendered, we had a global tender. And only one company which participated in that global tender was our own startup. Because that is such a specialized technology, no company in the world would come and tender, would supply a bid. But then IIT would say on one single bid, how can we give you any order? Because in government system, single tender is again a no-no. These are the kinds of challenges that existed. And when I went to IIT Delhi, we started many things there. We said, how can we turn our faculty into entrepreneurs? Everybody is talking of deep technology startups. Mahesh also was talking about it. In this country, somehow everybody is in a rush to start companies. You do a BTech, I want a job. I mean, which BTech degree can get you a job? A computer science. Therefore, everybody wants to do computer science too and get a job right away. And then, but if you want to get a job in biotechnology, in nanotechnology, you have to acquire much higher levels of knowledge, right? You have to pursue higher education. You need to work in the industry for a very long period of time, understand the technology, and then you come and start a company, which can compete with the best in the world. But that kind of patience we don't have. At IIT Delhi, less than 5% of students go for higher education, less than 5%. 95% of them, for some reason, want a job after BTech. Nobody needs their money. The parents are all well-to-do and everything, but everybody wants a job after BTech. Everybody wants to start a company after BTech. That is the problem with this country right now. If we ever want deep technology kind of startups, we need to orient our PhD students towards startups. We need to orient our faculty towards startups. That is where the Lakshmi and Saraswati need to come together. And that is what at IIT Delhi we tried doing. We started a faculty innovation and research-driven entrepreneurship, a program called FIRE. We started a PhD incubator program. I think, whatever I did out of frustration. In this country, for example, lab to library, that is very well established. I can do enough research in my lab, publish enough paper in journals, right? But lab to land is a totally different ballgame. And that we are still struggling to do. So I wanted to establish, since I have been successful in getting my products into the market and in airports and all of that, I thought, let me create that ecosystem on a larger scale so that more and more PhD students, more and more faculty will be able to do that. And therefore, India will get into areas where there is a barrier for entry. Otherwise, every company our founders start, either it's a copy of something which is available elsewhere, or if they start something, there will be 10 companies which will replicate that business model, and in no time you have a competition for that. Let's get into areas where there is a barrier for entry, but that will require deeper understanding of that problem. So I think we need that kind of a patience, and how to instill it in our young people, how to make them wait long enough to start something. I don't know, at IIT Delhi, everybody seems to be in a rush to do something. Only faculty have a lot of patience. But, but getting a government employee to do a startup has its own challenges. I think we will discuss it probably as we go forward.
No, thank you. That's the hard reality. Rizwan, I'll turn to you. You worked in a company unlike the BTech guys who just wanted to get out and do stuff, and you started your own BPO. So what was it in your own sort of learning, and what was it in the culture or the enabling technology or your faith or whatever, what were the key influences that made you go in that direction?
So, that's a tough question to answer. And you had asked me this question earlier as I was thinking about it. And it was helpful for me to think because some of what I'm going to say, I've never really thought about it like that till coming for today. I think there were two dominant attributes of mine which have contributed to my success. One, interestingly, comes from my mother. My mother was the most persistent lady that I have, or a human being that I have known ever, in some ways. So if she got a mind to do something, then it didn't matter. It were days, weeks, months, years would go by. But she would have a single-minded determination. It could be anything. It could be as simple as moving into a new home to getting one of us married. It could be whatever. But she could be at it for a really long time. And I would often joke to my sales guys. I said one of the competitive advantage of our company is that I've got my mother's genes of perseverance, where I can just go on and on for a really long time. Okay, in some ways. Okay. And the second attribute actually comes from my dad. He used to run a very small business, actually quite small, and he ran it for 50 years. And the attribute of my dad was just his sense of simplicity and satisfaction with what he had, And I often find that has contributed a lot because, as an entrepreneur, you want to be successful. You want to be financially successful. But entrepreneurs who are looking for financial success, ironically, are not always the ones who become financially successful, right? The ones who are financially successful are entrepreneurs for whom becoming financially successful is just a byproduct of doing things really well that they really like to and want to do in life in some ways, So I've just benefited from that wisdom that I've gotten from him, where to me, success definition is much more around what I'm doing, and the fact that I've just been financially successful along the way has been a natural byproduct there.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. Is there any other cultural influence or any other bit that you can remember with? I'm going to come back to you.
So, I'm from a community of small traders, So I tend to be a Bora Muslim. And if you look at Bora Muslim as a community, like the Gujarati community, right? Typical of, business community. And there are some communities which are not considered to be business communities. So even in my family, while I used to be at McKinsey, and I mentioned this earlier, I was like a really sort of fancy management consulting company, lots of, perks and high salary and all. It was still considered to be just a job, in some ways. And the notion of having your own business was so deeply ingrained. It didn't matter whether it was a big business or a small business, but you were kind of valued for running your own business. So I think that contributed to my innate desire to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah. We probably don't pay enough, we don't think about it enough, but these are very, very seminal influences in our lives about our culture, the way we've been brought up. And I'm glad you brought this up. Amit, same question to you. Any influences, any enablers as you embarked on your entrepreneurial journey? Anything that you had learned on the way which helped you come to where you are?
Yeah, so I also basically thought deeply about this question. I think two, three things, if I look back. One is that my father was, although a civil servant, he basically encouraged us to be extremely competitive in terms of studies. Uh, and second is that, so I think that basically in a way ensured that I never have that I have this tendency of never rest once I have been able to become good at one thing. And this was fueled further by my IIT batchmates, because once you're into IIT, you quickly figure out that you might be the first in your college or in a school, but here you are just one among many and you need to fight again to earn a respectable position. So again, I basically fought there to become my engineering topper, and so on and so forth. So I think perhaps that desire to come out of the comfort zone and try for something which is the most toughest thing out there has been a very subconscious influence. And that is why otherwise starting a company in 2014, it was startups had started doing well, but the glamour was not that much in 2014 when I started with my friends. So much so that we had to often talk to the parents of young engineers to convince them to join a startup, which is not any longer the situation now. And doing a startup in mid 30s with the thing that I told you was also a really odd decision. Second thing which I would say, second influence which I would say is that coming from a middle class family uh, ensured that all three of us founders have this frugal mentality. So if all three of us were in our 30s when we were given funding, and I have seen many of these startup guys how their behavior changed once 10, 20, 30, 40 crore rupees come into the account, and they can spend with almost zero accountability and huge amount of independence. But I think because our background was such, despite having 18 crore of funding in our bank account, whenever three of us founders, we used to travel anywhere, we would basically stay in the same room with one extra bed. And when it was hot, mildly hot in Bangalore in couple of months, we never bought any AC, we never bought any water cooler also, thinking that somehow we'll manage. So I think while everybody else in this industry spent money like crazy, we always remained frugal. We always respected money a lot. We always calculated ROI over our marketing efforts, and not vanity that our friends or our batchmates will appreciate us because they saw our TV ad of NoBroker in TV. So I think that influence also basically helped us a lot, not only in doing what you did, but also in surviving. And in startup, if you survive long enough and you have basic intelligence, things do work out.
Very good. Professor?
I think maybe, more than any inspiration or anything, because I think professors and entrepreneurship don't go hand in hand. So, I mean, I started in 2011 when nobody really knew, in IITs, nobody was doing that. Maybe Professor Contractor was ahead of me, but my companies are successful. I think I could not continue it beyond a point. So, I think one thing which, like I said, the PhD students turning into entrepreneurs, I'm very passionate about that now. So at BITS Pilani, the group of institutions which I head, we started a new program called PhD Drive. What it stands for is Deep Tech Research, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship. So we are admitting PhD students, turning them into entrepreneurs. They will work on a deep technology problem. We will pay them much higher stipends than a regular student. From day one, there will be VCs involved with the project. There will be industries involved with the project. The goal of that PhD program is, at the end of the day, you don't want to become a university professor, but rather you want to become an entrepreneur. So that's what we are starting right now, and hopefully that will take off and becomes a model for the whole country.
We've just a couple of minutes left, so I'll turn to You again first, Rizwan. Is there any one thing, one learning or one unlearning that you can talk about to the group?
Honestly, not an easy question, but my basic philosophy in life is the harder you work, the luckier you get. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Amit?
I think learning is pretty known from startup journeys, which is perseverance, never give up, focus on input and not just on output. I would like to talk about unlearning here today. So when basically after doing consulting and you feel that you are in the driving basically wheel and you are driving things. When I, as a first generation entrepreneur, when I started my company with my friends, I had this feeling that I am from good colleges and I am going to basically drive things and will hire juniorish people, but I will be able to do majority of the things. The big unlearning is that no, you can't. And today, whatever, wherever NoBroker has reached is my contribution, I can say very proudly, is less than 1%. And it is all because of the team. I think I figured out very quickly within a year that if you want to scale something, then you need more people who think like co-founders. So the culture that we built in NoBroker was that we become capital allocators, we as founders, and we basically find people who want to become entrepreneur, but right now are not ready to take financial risk. So we'll provide them capital, we'll give them one business, and then they will focus on that business and make it large. And it's like Series A, Series B. So if they make it bigger, we'll give them more capital, more resources, more technology, bandwidth, more marketing money. Otherwise, we will basically find someone else. And that is the reason why many people ask us as to that's so difficult to do one thing right. And how can we do real estate? Now, today we are India's #1 residential packer mover aggregator. We are India's #1 painting aggregator. We are into home interiors. We are into cleaning. We did more than 1 lakh AC servicing last year. So basically, how is it that you can do so many things? And the truthful answer is, and the learning is that I can't. I basically need more smarter people than me to whom I allocate the capital within the company. And they are the ones who basically take us forward.
Wonderful.
I think
Professor Rao?
I always tell, in my speeches to IIT students and everybody, I think 3 Ps: passion, patience, and perseverance. That is what is required for the deep tech kind of startups. I think they need a lot of patience for, to do some of these kind of things that at least, some of us have done. So.
I'll just end by saying that my biggest learning was I was member of a board. Company went bankrupt, and the biggest learning I had was we tried to do too many things too quickly without too much of application of mind. And I would really. I'm a great believer in focus, in doing, what they said, 1 inch wide but 1 mile deep. A great believer in that. Thank you very much for your time and your patience. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the